So this is it for Lee Corso, the final headgear pick of the weekend. It is Thursday. It's August 28th. We may look back on this video, so I just want to document it. Here's what I hope. Lee Corso's 90 years old. He just turned 90 years old this month. This Saturday at the Shoe, Texas versus Ohio State. As far as I'm concerned, it's number 1 versus number 2. Lee Corso will be right there on the field. We'll be there. We'll be on the field, so I'll be able to look at this and I'll be able to watch history happen. Now, I want you to know, or at least I hope people realize how significant this moment's going to be. It's been an iconic moment. The headgear pick right there about 11:59 or right at high noon Eastern time every Saturday in the fall. It's been baked into my entire life as a college football fan. They've been doing that as long as I was old enough to watch TV on Saturday mornings. And after this, I want you to remember how significant this is, because it's not like the torch gets passed. When it's done this Saturday, it's done. When he's done this Saturday, as far as us seeing him every Saturday, he's done. And you don't fully appreciate that in the moment. It takes some time. But you ask, if you're 20 years old, you're not old enough to know this. But if you're 45 years old or 50 years old or 60 years old, you remember things that used to exist in your life, in entertainment or otherwise, that just aren't there anymore. You tell stories about them. To the younger kids, you tell stories just like we will in the future, 25, 30 years from now, to the younger generation about what Saturday used to be like. I don't know what college football as a sport looks like by then, but I do know it's going to be a pretty surreal thing to watch this happen for the last time and then to fast forward 30 years and explain to someone what the build-up to kickoff on Saturday used to contain. And it contained a guy who was an institution. He's been in our lives forever. He was right there on the College Gameday set, and we would build up, and they'd be on the biggest venue campus for the biggest game in the country, and he'd put a mascot head on. And it was just quintessential college football, and that's how we'd kick it off. That is history after this Saturday. That's history. It's not happening anymore, which is a smart move on their part. It would be very, very dumb to try and recreate that. So I do agree with sort of closing the book on it. But I got to tell you, we talked about this in the spring, but I know we got a lot of people coming back to the table. I just got to tell you, I appreciate Lee Corso, man. I appreciate him so much, because I never doubted that he loved college football. I never doubted that he loved the sport. And you may listen to me and say, well, of course he didn't. I mean, he's on TV every week talking about it. There are a lot of folks who cover this sport who don't really love it. And he did, never doubted it. I always want to remind you, there are some people who are in media and they have opportunities to cover big events, and they go cover it, and the moment the camera shuts off, they're on the first thing smoking out of there. And Lee Corso, up until last year, 89 years old, like up until last year, when he was at games, they would end the broadcast, and if it was a noon kickoff, if it was a 3:30 kickoff, if it was a primetime kickoff, he'd go get his sideline pass, and he'd be right there on the field. Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video. Do me one favor. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us keep the show free. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us keep doing college football year-round. And we appreciate it. All right, back to the video. And then travel commercially back home. You'd see him in airports. He didn't have a big team around him. He's just traveling himself. He's still getting himself around in his late 80s, and you can't fake it. You can't fake it. Not everyone has to love you. Not everyone has to adore every word that comes out of your mouth. Some more controversial than others, especially considering the figure we're talking about here. Go Cougars. But you can't fake that stuff. And to become something that everyone's Saturday revolves around, and to be part of something that everyone's Saturday revolves around, it's a magical thing. It was, at least for my childhood and my early adult life, and et cetera. But one more thing I want to remind you of. We talked about this a few months ago. I just want to say it one more time. What a lesson Lee Corso is. For anybody who thinks the best of their life has passed them by, this man ought to be Exhibit 1A in the textbook of why always to look forward. Lee Corso, I want you to remember this. Lee Corso starts his career as a player at FSU in 1953. This is on the heels of World War II. It's the Korean War era. He's at FSU 53 through 57 as a player. He is then a coach from 1958 to 1985. And by 1986, he is 51 years old. He's got over 3 decades in the history books of being part of the sport of football. Imagine someone walking up to him and saying, "Hey, Lee, good run. Your most impactful 3 decades on this sport are still to come." What would he have even thought? He would have thought you were crazy. And yet here we are. Been on TV since 1987, been on the set on campuses for Gameday since 1993. Dude had been in football his whole life. He's 52 years old, I think, in 1987 or thereabouts, and gets a shot at TV that's going to sustain him until 2025. It is hard to do anything for that period of time, much less be in entertainment on live TV. So I wanted to speak my piece on that. Huge salute to Lee Corso. We'll see him. I would assume we'll see him at some point Saturday, but I appreciate him. I appreciate having gotten to watch him. That's yet another thing that you'll look back and you'll tell the kids one day, grandkids, whatnot, hey, I was around when. And I being my age, I always listen to guys say, well, I was around when Woody Hayes or Bo Schembechler or Bear Bryant coached. Ara Parseghian went from Notre Dame on the sideline to the broadcast booth. The Keith Jackson era, on the tail end of it, I'm old enough to remember that, but the vintage Keith Jackson era, not around for that. But I was around for this. I was at least around for this. I was around for a number of things that have been historic in my lifetime, and this is one of them.